Hello and welcome to the Fall 2024 Trash Anime Award Show.
This season was riddled with phenomenal shows like Bleach, ReZero, Dawn to Dawn, Uzumaki Episode 1. But at the same time, we had Higakura, the healer who was banished from his party is in fact the strongest, and Uzumaki Episode The Rest. So to find the worst anime of the season, I brought in guest judges, Nacho Libre, the Grinch who saved money on the rest of the outfit, and is that supposed to be Moist Critical or Jesus? I will note that if you don't see an anime from this season, it's most likely because it was a season 2 and I didn't watch the first season. So without further ado, let's begin. It was a sad season for many of us. After all, KSI is still dropping music, Hulk made my son bite the curb, even the president of South Korea was feeling so lonely that he enacted martial law. The same could be said about the characters this season, so who was the closest to crying in the shower to slowed down music with reverb? In Mushroom Pup, a man is having trouble dealing with the loss of a precious family member that he spent years of his life with. He's even suffering from writer's block after he lost his dog. Now you see why I didn't win. In Negative Positive Angler, the protagonist has a terminal illness, only having 2 years left to live, so he invests all of his money into the Haktua coin, immediately going into debt. To fix his depression, he starts fishing with lots of other Pokemon trainers. Is that Fatsune Miku?
And the winner of the anime with the most depressed character of the season goes to If My Wife Becomes an Elementary School Student.
This family has been depressed for years after the death of Keisuke's very human wife. I made a video about this anime, but this is very much a don't judge a book by its cover situation, even if that book turns out to be a children's book. Now, let's get out of the slump and look at the anime that got my lonely ass smiling. Starting off, we had the remake of Ranma, which took me back to my childhood. For a minute, that childlike wonder returned to me. Boobies! My eyes lit up, remembering happier times. Would. Speaking of if it's gay or not, there's How I Attended an All-Guys Mixer, where 3 men become romantically involved with 3 women that look and act exactly like men. How was your day? Fine. Wanna hop on the game? Sure. Okay, maybe not exactly, but it is a nice entertaining romance story for those of you that are into femboys that act like tomboys.
I knew there was something wrong with you. A woman!
And the winner of the Got My Lonely Ass Smiling Award goes to Blue Box.
Taiki always goes to the gym to practice badminton, and every time Chinatsu is there before him. She's a prodigy of women's basketball, so talented, she's gonna make a great doctor someday. What? Basketball doesn't make any money, it's the Asian in me. Still, they fight an uphill battle to not only be great at their respective sport, but also for love.
Lord, I come to you, still single, but I see what you do for others. It's like watching the wealthy drown in their own riches. I ask only for a crumb, maybe a woman like Jinx from Arcane. Not from League of Legends, they're very different. Please.
Let's even it out, because for every story like Bonnie and Clyde, there's always a Chris Brown and Rihanna to match it. Now, this season didn't really have any terrible romance anime, but the award must be given to someone. 365 Days to the Wedding follows a grown-up Python? He's an introverted man who has input delay on conversations. One day, his company announces that one employee that is single will be relocated to Alaska for work. To avoid this, him and someone he works with pretends to be engaged and in love with each other when they're in front of people. They're basically married already. In You Are Miss Servant, a woman shows up at Hitayoshi's door asking to become his maid. The major problem is that she was a former assassin lacking emotions and the skills of a maid. The minor problem is that she's 21 and he's 16. My man.
And the winner of the worst romance anime of the season goes to Tying the Knot with an Amagami Sister.
An atheist man obsessed with becoming a doctor is moving into a shrine, and what do you think is waiting for him there? He's forced to marry at least one of these women and take over the shrine, a distraction he doesn't want.
Lord, I come back, still single. Maybe I asked for a bit much, but I see what you do for others. It's like watching the gluttonous choke on their food. I ask only for a crumb, Maybe a woman like Esdeath.
Crazy and all.
Please.
The next award is the You're Putting in a Strangely High Amount of Effort to Be Around Kids award. The do-over damsel conquers the Dragon Emperor, has the Emperor of Rave.
私はその年齢的に
Well, I mean, medium rare is a popular choice.
14歳未満じゃないからダメだとはっきり
Times were different back then, and it's not like he wanted her, she came on to him. I'm not helping my case. A terrified teacher at Ghoul School follows a teacher who, after failing as a normal teacher, ends up at a school of troubled creatures. Now, normally, I would think it's a sweet gesture that he wants to teach the less privileged, like those movies where they put a white savior in a class full of, struggling students. Can we stop making these, please? If you need to appease your white guilt, just race swap another princess instead of making these. Unlike those light-skinned liberators, this teacher is, well, a pervert towards some of the students. So yeah, it is kind of weird how much effort he put in to be around kids.
And the winner of the You're Putting in a Strangely High Amount of Effort to Be Around Kids award goes to Punaru as a kawaii slime.
好きなタイプは子供が大好きなの
Kirara is the protagonist's crush. She volunteers at children's centers, helps out lost kids, does just about anything to be around them, which normally I would call motherly instinct. I don't know what I would call that, motherly interloping maybe, but I know what you're thinking. She's a middle schooler, it's not done with weird intent. I didn't say it had to be, still a lot of effort to be around a bunch of aged up fetuses. What was the worst drama of the season? Orb on the Movements of Earth is about a heretic who studies astrology to prove that Earth revolves around the sun.
What are you gonna tell me next? That the Earth is flat?
This felt like those days where your science teacher had a massive hangover, so they just put on Bill Nye to teach you. And I loved Bill Nye Day, just like the show. Trillion Game follows two unorthodox friends as they try to make it into the Trillionaire Club alongside Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Hatsune Miku. But remember, in business, friendships never last, like Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Parker.
Along with my hoodie and my fuck you flip-flops.
And the winner of the worst drama anime of the season goes to Something Something Mahjong.
Every year, a few Mahjong anime come out that I watch. I still don't know how to play Mahjong. I feel like a wife trying to express interest in her husband's hobby before getting yelled at for not understanding. But, you know, it's just a normal Mahjong anime with over-exaggerated gameplay, forced prostitution, and murder. Women have great taste in things. Fireproof water bottles, pocketless pants, this beautiful thing. But let's look at a marginalized group of women, the ones that use Wattpad. That's right, this award is for the anime that would most likely be read in a book club of unhappy wives. In Nina the Starry Bride, Nina was a girl in the village doing alright till she became a princess overnight. Then all the men fall in love with her because she always speaks her mind. Post.
Lord, still single,
But I see what you do for others. It's like watching a hoarder be crushed by his possessions. I ask only for a crumb. Maybe a woman like Mother Gothel.
what? You don't find a possessive woman attractive?
Please.
I'll become a villainess who goes down in history, follows Alicia, who goes into her favorite otome game. Serious question for the 0 women that watch me. Do women actually play these games, or is this one of those hidden things women do, like discharge? That's a fucking Pokemon move. Anyway, she tries to roleplay as a villainess, and despite not wanting love, love finds her. Also, she fights off systemic inequality. It's funny how they always add this trope in these shows, because apparently all women have this thing called empathy. I swear, they're always inventing new mental illnesses.
And the winner of Most Likely to Be Read in a Book Club of Unhappy Wives goes to Yakuza Fiancé.
Yoshino is in an arranged marriage to a rich, violent, but protective Yakuza member. Ladies, keep it down. If he looked like Quasimodo, this would be sexual harassment.
吉野が誰と付き合ってようが俺は一向に構わない。だけど、やるなら全部俺の前でして。
You can probably see why this won now, because this is some women's wet dream. Wow, I used that in context for once. If this show taught me one thing, it's that women don't want peace in their life. So say a different woman's name at dinner today, she'll love it, trust me. The animation this season was rough. I mean, I've seen better Picasso paintings than some of these frames. Blue Miburo had some of the worst action scenes for a samurai anime. Most of the fights were slow motion PNGs moving side to side. Lockdown Zone Level X has what I call visual novel animation, but I also could barely watch it because it is a horror anime and I physically cannot watch or do anything remotely scary. Peekaboo was not a fun game for me as a child.
And the winner of worst animation of the season goes to... It's a tie to appease the viewers. The winner is Blue Lock and Uzumaki.
As I just said, I can't watch horror anime at all, so I did watch Uzumaki with my eyes closed, meaning I probably had a better experience than all of you. Now, Blue Lock, on the other hand, I also didn't watch because I never finished season 1. But I have watched one video talking about the animation, so who is more qualified than me to give PNG Lock half of the award? There were a few magical girl anime this season, but which was the best one? The Stories of Girls Who Couldn't Become Magicians is about girls that didn't make it into the elite magic class, meaning they most likely can't become magicians. But with the right teacher, everything could change.
This isn't a magical girl show?
Yes, it is. I took trigonometry. Girls plus magic equals magical girls.
Fair point.
In Acro Trip, an unhappy girl moves in with her grandpa because this town has a magical girl. But through a string of events, she ends up closer to the villain who fights the magical girl.
This one doesn't seem like a magical girl either.
Fair point.
And the winner of Best Magical Girl Anime of the Season goes to... Maggie Lumiere, Magical Girls.
Magical girls have become commercialized, now being dispatched by agencies to deal with monsters. But the real monsters they have to deal with are the corporations. No, magical girl, don't point your wand at that CEO. My main problem is that this is such a female-dominated industry. Can we get some representation in here? Deku? What was the worst fantasy anime of the season? Because there were a lot of bad ones. Goodbye Dragon Life follows a reincarnated dragon living as a human, but really it was just a big excuse for the author to talk about their demi-human fetish. They really like talking about drinking this woman's cow milk, which is fine, but then they randomly bring in her daughter too? Remember when I was talking about how some people prefer medium rare? Now it's a double entendre. The healer who was banished from his party is in fact the strongest. I know people say Isekai is always the same, but I swear I've seen this so many times I don't think I need to explain it.
And the winner of Worst Fantasy Anime of the Season goes to... Haigakura.
Do you know how impressive it is to be rated lower than Uzumaki? To quickly summarize it, a tone-deaf man must find 4 evil gods and bring them back to their world. But the anime thought it would be a genius idea to put the manga chapters in a random order and skip the beginning so nothing makes sense. You know it's bad when a show goes on an indefinite hiatus after episode 8. Let's move on to see who was the best yapper of the season. ReZero finally returned and instantly reminded us that it is adapting a light novel. Good thing they put enough stuff to keep me engaged. Bleach is back and still the best to ever do it. In terms of explaining every aspect of their powers during a fight, that is. Demon Lord 2099 was my most unexpected hit of the season. 500 years ago, the hero defeated the Demon Lord, who when resurrected, fights like present Mike Tyson. So does he work at McDonald's? No, he's a yapper, and who is a better yapper than a YouTuber? Is that Toa? Than a YouTuber. But don't worry, this is not a streamer anime. It has such a great plot with phenomenal action if you make it past episode 3. I also have nowhere to put this, but I have to show it to someone. Thank you for your time.
And the winner of Best Yapper of the Season goes to... The Notorious Talker runs the world's greatest clan.
Noel wants to become the world's greatest seeker, but he's a talker, which is the weakest class, only useful for buffing allies, giving commands, and getting a bargain on selling ex-friends into slavery. It's a decent anime, but since he is edgy, you know the type of people that will be watching it. Children think that MC is cruel, but they don't know how world works. Thank you, Araragi.
He's by far the best. Cunning, manipulative, sly MC we have seen since Aizen, but he's even more cruel in his plays with these filthy mongrels.
Thank you, anime isekai god. Speaking of isekai, there was a surprisingly low amount of new isekai this season. Just when I was losing faith, signs point to the existence of a god. Spirit Chronicles got a second season, which I completely forgot season 1 existed until now, and am going to continue forgetting that it exists. Ari Feretta, Yep, Dragon Ball Daima was Akira Toriyama's final work before passing away, where the cast travels to the demon world, which is technically a different world, so I am counting it. It's a fun adventure with a de-aged cast. This is basically what happens to Pikachu every time he switches regions.
And the winner of the worst isekai of the season goes to Loner Life in Another World.
Haruka is a loner who doesn't want any friends because, and I quote, "they'd get in the way of my books." Alright, Stephen King. His whole class gets isekai'd, but he's a loner and likes to be alone. That lasts a total of 1 episode before he gets a harem and is never alone.
Lord, I'm beginning to think I'm still asking for too much, but
I see what you do for others. It's like watching a tree collapse under the abundance of its own fruit. I ask only for a crumb. Maybe a woman like Dragon from Shrek. But like, as a human? Actually, leave her as a dragon. Please.
Oh, and if you think Demon Lord Retry is worse, you're probably right. I just never watched season 1. Now, for the moment nobody was waiting for. What was the best trash anime of the season? My favorite SAO spin-off got a sequel, and it was everything I wanted. Battle royales, chopped-looking NPCs, and aim so bad you would think you were watching kids swing at a piñata. Don had one of the best first seasons of the year, but unfortunately, nothing about it is trash, so no award for you. Mechanical Arms felt like an anime for kids, but with really good animation. I didn't like it, but if I didn't put it somewhere in this video, then I wasted hours of my life watching it.
And the winner of the best trash anime of the season goes to Let This Grieving Soul Retire.
There is nothing I love more than frauds who gain status by tricking everyone into thinking they're great. King, Reagan, my uncle Kim Jong-un, and they made an entire anime around this premise. Haruka started a guild with his friends when they were children, and while they went on to become the most powerful in the world, he remained as the weakest, but he has one thing going for him: luck. Everything just works out for him to the point people think that he is so wise that he can see into the future. I mean, he is constantly being glazed, like he has Hashirama cells in him, then randomly, whoa, who's animating without their hands? However, Haruka was right, even when it comes to this award show.
Thank you for coming out to the annual Trash Anime Award Show. Not one to beg, but I am close to 100,000 subscribers, and I do want to hit it by the end of the year. But my final message to you is... Me again. Okay, I get it. Lower the bar a lot, but
I see what you do for others. It's like watching a king collapse under the weight of his own crown. I ask only for... forget this. I'll take Whoopi Goldberg at this point. Wait, God?
Hello, my child. Oh, yeah, no, that's definitely most critical. I see it now. Hello, Outro Lunar with marker on his face. I'm joined today by the Grinch who stole Christmas. Anything you'd like to say?
I hate everyone.
Thank you, Grinch who stole Christmas. Click here to check out my most recent video. Click here to check out my recommended video, and click here to check out my second channel.